Is there a deadly connection that exists between Miss Marvel and Ant-Man, which might explain why the good folks at Marvel have been shuffling around movie releases in 2023? We're going to get into it, but first, I've got to talk about how Kamala Khan gets her powers. So seriously, if you've not watched the first episode of the Miss Marvel miniseries, there is a major spoiler warning here. But as long as you know that and you want to proceed, great. That said, welcome back to the Mama Saga, where this Marvel-loving mama is a mother by day, but breaks down comic book sagas, movies, and shows like Miss Marvel by night. So let's talk about the first connection between Miss Marvel and Ant-Man, and that's the quantum realm. Scott Lang has, as Ant-Man, navigated the quantum realm before, from his brief bout in the very first Ant-Man movie to his involvement in helping to overthrow Thanos in the Battle of Earth. Ant-Man, the Wasp, Hank Pym, and Janet Van Dyne, or Janet Pym, are all set to return in the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. And that means that they're going back into the quantum realm, or quantum zone, again, where they're going to face off directly against Kang the Conqueror. It's also being theorized that Kang might show up again in the subsequent MCU movie release of The Marvels. This makes sense. Why? I mean, Kang's way too powerful to be defeated in one movie. He's supposed to be the next big bad of the MCU, so clearly he's going to show up more than once. Now, the quantum realm or zone is where all of the energy in the Marvel comics and the MCU originates. It's a cosmic type realm, and that's the type of energy that Kamala wields as Miss Marvel in the MCU. In my recent video, they changed Miss Marvel's powers. Kevin Feige explains why. I go into detail about how and why things changed from Kamala having Earth-based powers that cross paths with the Terrigen Mist and Inhumans to her having more cosmic, space-related powers. So if you missed that recent video, make sure you watch it after you're done watching this one. Ant-Man uses his Pym particles to shrink to subatomic size so that he can enter the quantum realm. This is a fluid realm where nearly anything is possible, provided that you know how to interact within the realm. So you just let that sink in as you consider that Kang lives in this city of Chronopolis, which might just be the quantum realm city in the MCU, and it is located just outside of time. In fact, in Marvel, any time traveler briefly passes through that city. Talk about someone being powerful and there being no limits on their power. The fact that the MCU version of Kamala Khan has what's very likely a negaband that connects her to the quantum realm, and that Ant-Man is a regular traveler to said realm, is not the only connection between the two. Not anymore. Next you have all the MCU Easter eggs. Look, if you've been a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for more than 5 minutes, then you understand the power of the MCU Easter eggs, and we had them galore in episode 1 alone of the Miss Marvel Disney Plus miniseries, teasing an even deeper connection between Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel and Scott Lang's Ant-Man moving forward into the MCU. And just how many Ant-Man Easter eggs did we have in episode 1? Well, to start with, there was the reference to Scott Lang's podcast, Big Me, Little Me, a Scott Lang interview. And it's here that we come to understand how everyone and their mother knows about the death of Iron Man and Black Widow and, well, everything that came to pass during the Battle of Earth. You know, the big old Thanos-centric brawl that happened in Avengers Endgame. Scott Lang, through his podcast and the interviews that go down on his podcast, served as the pipeline to the public. Now, if that were the only Easter egg and or reference to Ant-Man, I'd say in terms of his connection with Miss Marvel, like, whatever. But there were way, way more Easter eggs than that having to do with Scott Lang that connects him and Kamala Khan in terms of the upcoming MCU storyline. What do I mean? Well, of course, at AvengerCon, there's all sorts of Avengers-based merch out there, including Ant-Man-related gear, but the biggest Easter egg of them all happens to be the biggest Easter egg of them all, literally. The absolutely huge likeness of Ant-Man, decked out in his battle gear, which gets decapitated by Miss Marvel's powers when they first manifest, while Kamala Khan is up on stage getting her cosplay outfit judged with all of the other Captain Marvel superfans. I've said it before in other videos on my channel, but I'll say it again now. There's gonna be some deaths in the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It's been rumored that Hank Pym could die. It's also being rumored that Scott Lang himself might die. They both might die. Kang is one brutal big bag. And if Marvel's going to keep upping the ante in the MCU, they're going to have to outdo Thanos in terms of his being a villain. And seriously, the latter big bad snapped half the universe out of existence for 5 years. So this is going to be a tall order. The beheading of Ant-Man at AvengerCon might just be another poker's tell that he's not going to make it much longer in the MCU. His daughter Cassie Lang is likely to take his place as Stature. But regardless, there's going to be a lot of violence and loss in the Quantumania movie, and I have a sneaking suspicion that Cassie and Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, won't be able to handle Kang by themselves. He's way too powerful, especially in his element in the quantum realm. So I wouldn't be surprised if Miss Marvel, with or without Captain Marvel at her side, comes to their rescue. Kamala Khan is super powerful with a Negaban and all of the cosmic powers it unlocks for her. She would be a much better fighter against Kang than many other Marvel heroes would be. So I truly believe that all of that leads into the real purpose behind what I like to call the upcoming MCU movie switcheroo. Okay, legit, I'm sure that there was a ton of work still left to do on the upcoming MCU movie, The Marvels. But nevertheless, I think that the good folks at Marvel are taking an inch of truth and turning it into a yard in order to serve a greater storytelling good. Meaning they're likely changing up the plot of the Marvels movie now that Miss Marvel's been factored into the MCU. And since Kevin Feige made such a big deal about Marvel having to change up Kamala Khan's origin story from what it was in the comics, I'm thinking that it was done for a reason having to do with the big bad of at least Phase 4 of the MCU, Kang, his powers, his domain, and his upcoming clash with Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Hank Pym. It would make sense to reshuffle the deck in order to pull Miss Marvel into the storyline, since her powers in the MCU come from what appears to be a Negaban, which has connections to cosmic powers or the quantum realm. If you want to learn more about the Negaban's powers, be sure to watch my recent video, Negabans, Why Does Miss Marvel Have Them? If you haven't already. Suffice it to say, once you've watched that video, you'll understand exactly how well Kamala is going to be armed to fight off Kang, especially given all of the powerful possibilities that have been unlocked for her. She and Kang are connected enough in the overall Marvel comic book saga that in another part of the comic book multiverse, she and Kang were merged to become one identity, Kamala Kang. Check out my video, Miss Marvel, The Fight with Kang, for more information on the scuffle and interaction that Kamala has had with Kang the Conqueror. I'm telling you, it makes sense what they're doing right now in the MCU and why it's safe to say that the connection as between Miss Marvel and Ant-Man will only deepen from here on out. The plot line for the Marvels has been kept under wraps for quite some time to begin with. Sure, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, also known as Spectrum in the overall Marvel comic book saga, and Miss Marvel will all be a part of that movie. But we don't know too much more than that at this point in time, do we? So I think that's a poker's tell in and of itself. But to top that off, remember just how many reshoots were done in connection with the recent MCU movie Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and how that movie was shuffled around so that Spider-Man No Way Home could come first. I mean, don't tell me that Marvel doesn't do this stuff for a reason. And they're doing it again, and I have no problem with it. I'm just pointing all of this stuff out. I think they're going to be telling an even more powerful story because of what they're doing too. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe to the Mama Saga for more comic book saga breakdowns, Salty Mama style. Thanks for watching. Take care.